Meet Earl. He also goes by Sparky, and when I met him, he introduced himself as Norman Famous. I met Earl/Norman/Sparky when he responded to a Craigslist ad I posted looking for a drummer. Now he plays drums in my band. Earl lives in this big pink house. He's obsessed with aliens. There are literally, and I mean that literally, 1,001 stories to tell about Earl. About how he got hit in the head during a softball game and was in a coma for 2 days. About how he woke up one day and found that his voice was gone. He couldn't speak at all. About how he was a toll collector on the Golden Gate Bridge for 10 years. And about all the amazing music Earl has made since the mid-70s and the golden singing voice he lost.
I see your name on the old marquee, right where mine used to be.
Suffice to say, Earl has lived a lot. But the story I want to tell today is about him and his second oldest child, Matt. Matt grew up not knowing Norman at all. Here's Matt.
So, beginning of 2009, my mother passed away, and I hadn't yet had any contact with my dad. And a friend of my mother's decided that I should be in touch with him, and made it happen.
After several months of stalling, I think, on both of our parts, we finally did meet. I can't speak for Matt, but I was amazed at how much we resembled each other. I went to his home for dinner. When Matt opened the door, I believe we stared at each other for 15 seconds before either one of us said a word. 'Cause when he opened the door, I saw a younger version of me, and I'm sure when he saw me on the porch, he saw what he was going to look like in 30 years.
And we hit it off pretty well, and especially since he's really the only other musician in my family. So we just having that alone in common really gave us a common point.
We immediately bonded around music, of course, because like my house, Matt's house is a museum of musical instruments.
At one point, we played a show together, which was my first show under my own full name. And it was significant because I had never used my middle name for anything, partly because it was his, and I had no contact with him, and it was meaningless to me. And after I met him, I started using it as a stage name. I started using Matthew Joseph Payne as a complete thing, as a name.
After not knowing each other for all of our lives, it was amazing how we clicked and how great it was to bring Matt into the family. He heard my music and I heard his music, and I gave him, I think, every record that I'd ever put out. There was one album though that I had recorded but never released back in '84, and that was Rodent to Rodent. And I gave him a CD, I think, of the master from that.
He just said, "I think you'll like this. I haven't released this, but I think you'll enjoy it a lot." A little while after that, my dad went in for back surgery. I took it home and I listened to it the day that he was going in under the knife, and I was struck by it almost immediately. And by the end of the second time that I listened to it, I had already formed ideas for ways to redo 2 or 3 of the songs. By the time he was in recovery, I had recorded demos of the entire album, my own versions of the entire album.
While I was in the hospital, Matt came to visit me, and he gave me a CD, and on this CD was his version of the Rodent to Rodent album. No, Matt brought me an iPod, and on that iPod was the Rodent to Rodent. So I listened to it, and it just cracked me up. It was great.
He was super excited, and we pretty quickly started talking about releasing the 2 albums together.
I said, we have to do this. And so from those conversations, the Rodent to Rodent release and concert developed after a lot of talking about how we should present it.
And it's beyond just a rock concert. There's really a performance going on. It's our perfect representation of the whole thing as a piece. It's become bigger than itself. and this is the only time it's going to be presented in this format, and we're really, really excited about that, about really having all of the visual details and all the performance details, and I think it's really not to be missed.
Funny thing about Rodent to Rodent is that it was going to be released in 1984, which is the year that Matt was born, but I never released it. And even when I was doing my CD releases, I nearly released it again, but I didn't. For some reason, I held on to it, and it's almost like I had to meet Matt in order to finish the record. It's just one of those cosmic-y things.